December 1629. Inside Bamberg Castle's frozen dungeon, a German noblewoman named Anna Schwartz is screaming into the ice-cold darkness. The temperature outside? Minus 12 degrees. Inside this stone chamber? Cold enough that her breath turns to white clouds with every shriek. An 8-inch wooden wedge is slowly tearing her body apart from below. But here's the detail that'll make you sick. The executioner isn't rushing. He's sitting by candlelight, taking meticulous notes, timing her survival like a scientist monitoring a lab rat. Every scream, every convulsion, every second of agony is being documented with clinical precision. This device was called the Spanish donkey, and everything you're about to learn will destroy your faith in medieval justice forever. Because this wasn't about punishment. This was about profit. This was about systematic murder disguised as holy righteousness, and the conspiracy behind these executions has been deliberately buried by the Catholic Church for over 3 centuries. Are you ready for the truth they don't want you to know? By the end of this video, 3 revelations will haunt your nightmares. First, why executioners genuinely believed this device was merciful compared to burning alive. Second, the Spanish queen who personally ordered this torture used on her own court ladies, and the financial empire built on their screams. Third, why this instrument was engineered specifically to exploit female anatomy, designed with medical precision to maximize suffering while preventing quick death. If you're obsessed with history's darkest corners, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to expose gets exponentially more disturbing. And trust me, you need to see the suppressed Vatican document I reveal later that even academic historians tried to hide. Let's descend into this frozen hell together. Picture Europe between 1400 and 1700. Winter lasts 6 brutal months. Frostbite kills thousands. Starvation is constant. And in this landscape of frozen misery, the Inquisition is operating at full capacity. But here's what they'll never teach you in any classroom. This wasn't religious fanaticism gone wrong. This was calculated, systematic, and incredibly, obscenely profitable. The Spanish donkey emerged during Spain's Inquisition in the late 1400s, then spread like plague across Germany, France, and the Low Countries. Official church records claim it was reserved for 3 crimes: heresy, adultery, and witchcraft. That's the sanitized lie you'll find in textbooks. But imagine you're a wealthy widow in 1620 seconds, Bavaria. February. The Rhine River is frozen solid. You own land. You have gold. You refuse a marriage proposal from a bishop's nephew. Within 1 week, 3 witnesses you've never met testify. They saw you dancing naked with demons at midnight during the winter solstice. You're arrested on a Tuesday, your property is seized by Thursday, your trial lasts 3 hours, and by Saturday, you're sentenced to the Spanish donkey. Here's what nobody tells you: the wooden construction wasn't primitive brutality. It was deliberate engineering genius. Metal would be too smooth, too quick. Wood splinters, wood tears. Wood can be carved with ridges that maximize tissue damage while avoiding major arteries that would cause rapid death. The device stood roughly 7 feet tall, shaped like a massive sawhorse, but instead of a flat top beam, there was a single sharp wooden wedge angled at exactly 45 degrees. The victim was stripped completely naked in sub-freezing temperatures, hoisted above it by rope, then slowly lowered until the wedge penetrated the perineum, the area between genitals and anus. But that was merely the beginning, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just about physical torture. It's about a system that weaponized pain for profit, that transformed execution into gambling, entertainment, and that murdered thousands of women whose only real crime was having something powerful men wanted. You need to understand something that'll make your skin crawl. The Spanish donkey was designed by people who understood human anatomy better than most physicians of the era, and that knowledge made them absolute monsters. In 1577, a Spanish Inquisition torturer named Pedro Ruiz compiled an instruction manual. Yes, an actual manual titled Métodos Precisos de Interrogación. This document wasn't discovered until 1889, hidden deep in Vatican archives, and even then, most of its contents weren't translated into English until 1994. Academic pressure suppressed it for another decade. Here's what it describes in stomach-turning detail. The wedge angle must be exactly 45 degrees, not 40, not 50, exactly 45. Why? Because at 45 degrees, the wedge splits through soft tissue and muscle, but deflects around pelvic bone structure. A sharper angle would penetrate too quickly, causing death within an hour. A wider angle wouldn't penetrate deep enough to generate the required agony. But here's where it becomes absolutely diabolical. The wood was deliberately left rough. Splinters would break off inside the body cavity as the victim's weight pressed downward. These splinters, some as long as 3 inches, would pierce internal tissue, causing unspeakable pain. But they were thin enough that they actually sealed small blood vessels as they penetrated. This meant victims wouldn't bleed out quickly. The torture could last for hours, sometimes days. Ruiz's manual includes detailed notes on weight distribution. A woman weighing 120 pounds would naturally settle at a certain depth within 30 minutes. To accelerate the process, executioners would add weights to the victim's ankles, but never more than 40 pounds, because that would cause fatal internal hemorrhaging too quickly. The goal wasn't death. The goal was confession. And after confession, the goal became public spectacle. Imagine being in that chamber. It's February. The stones are frozen. You can see your breath. You feel every splinter catching, every muscle tearing. You try desperately to lift yourself with your arms, but your wrists are bound behind your back with frozen rope. You try to redistribute your weight, but the wedge is precisely wide enough that any movement drives it deeper into your body. The average survival time? 4 to 6 hours. The longest documented survival in Ruiz's manual? 19 hours and 12 minutes. And here's the detail that should freeze your blood. Ruiz's manual includes an entire chapter titled Signs of False Confession. It instructs executioners on how to determine if the victim is lying just to stop the pain, and if they detect deception, continue the torture until a true confession is obtained. How do you determine truth from lies when someone's being torn apart? You don't. It's arbitrary. It's whatever the executioner decides. But the real horror wasn't the device itself. It wasn't even the sadistic precision of its engineering. The real horror was who decided which women ended up on the Spanish donkey, and why their names appeared on church execution lists. That's what I'm about to expose next. Because when modern historians examined trial records from the 1600s, they discovered a pattern so obvious, so deliberate, that it reveals the Spanish donkey wasn't about justice at all. It was about the greatest property theft scheme in European history. Stay with me, because this gets much darker. Pause everything you think you know about witch trials and religious persecution. In 1998, historian Dr. Friedrich Merzbacher analyzed 847 execution records from Bamberg and Würzburg between 1,627 and 1,632, just 5 years. He cross-referenced the victims' names with property records, tax documents, and inheritance claims. What he discovered made him physically ill. 87% of Spanish donkey victims were women who owned property. Not women accused of property crimes, women who owned land, businesses, or held significant assets. Let me paint you a picture of how this actually worked. Meet Margareta Herber. She owned 3 acres of farmland outside Bamberg and a successful textile workshop. In January 1628, she's accused of witchcraft by her late husband's brother, the same brother who had tried to buy her land at half value 2 months earlier. The trial lasts 1 day. 3 witnesses testify. 2 are local drunks paid in wine. The third is a church scribe who never met Margareta but swears he saw her communing with darkness during the winter solstice. She's sentenced to the Spanish donkey. But here's the smoking gun. In Bamberg municipal records, there's a property transfer document dated the same day as her arrest, before her trial even began. Her land is seized by the church, pending resolution of heresy charges. The workshop inventory is sold at auction. The proceeds go to the court. Margareta survives 4 hours on the donkey before confessing to every accusation.